Lewis Hamilton's performance in Baku has sent ripples through the Formula One paddock, marking one of the most unexpected shifts in momentum this season. After Ferrari's struggles at Monza and another difficult start in the opening practice session, few believe the SF25 had the consistency to compete at the very front. For weeks, the story had been the same. Flashes of raw speed, quickly undone by inconsistency and mechanical quirks. Hamilton himself openly admitted that the Ferrari still felt alien to him, a car that resisted his trademark rhythm, forcing him to abandon the natural flow and precision that had defined his championship years. Yet in FP2 on the streets of Baku, everything changed. Hamilton delivered a lap of 1 minute and 41.293 seconds, not only quicker than last year's pole time, but achieved with such calm authority that it stunned both rivals and his own team. What made the effort remarkable was not just the time on the stopwatch, but the manner in which he achieved it. Fluid, aggressive, and controlled, a driver completely in sync with his machine for the first time in months. To produce that kind of performance here, on one of the most unforgiving and complex circuits on the calendar, only amplified its impact. Baku demands everything. Precision through the castle section, bravery on the long straights, and relentless concentration with walls never more than inches away. And Hamilton seemed to master all the lap did more than showcase raw pace. It signaled that Hamilton is finally finding his stride at Ferrari and reminded the grid that his ability to summon brilliance under pressure remains unmatched. Hamilton's display in Baku was a masterclass in trust and precision, threading his Ferrari millimeters from the castle walls with absolute control and unleashing fearless speed down the mammoth straights. To rise to the top under those demands, in a car that has so often looked unsettled beneath him, left not only fans but Ferrari's own insiders stunned. The drama deepened in context. Charles Leclerc, long considered the undisputed king of Baku with 4 consecutive pole positions, suddenly found his dominance overturned. Hamilton edged him by just 0.074 seconds, a margin tiny on paper but seismic in symbolism. For Leclerc, it was a jolt, his status as Ferrari's benchmark challenged on the very circuit where he has reigned supreme. For Ferrari, the sight of a 1-2 finish was reason to celebrate, yet it also served as a wake-up call. Hamilton is no longer merely adapting to life in red. He is beginning to thrive. The ripple effects of this result stretch far beyond a Friday practice session, reigniting belief within a team that had braced for another weekend of mediocrity, unsettling rivals who expected Ferrari to falter, and completely reshaping the tone heading into qualifying and the race. Hamilton's insane result has left stunned speechless and the rest of the grid on notice. And if this is what he can do on a Friday, the question everyone is now asking is what he can produce when the stakes rise even higher on Saturday and Sunday. So, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us until the very end of this video to discover all the details behind Hamilton's shocking resurgence in Baku. Lewis Hamilton's result in Baku has sent shockwaves through Formula One because it has rewritten a story that seemed destined for disappointment. Coming into the Azerbaijan Grand Prix weekend, Ferrari looked like a team still licking its wounds from Monza, still struggling to turn flashes of promise into meaningful results. FP1 seemed to confirm those fears with both Hamilton and Charles Leclerc wrestling an SF25 that simply refused to stick to the tarmac. Lack of grip in the early laps was glaring. Hamilton slid wide in the third sector, found himself clipping escape roads, and even brushed the wall. Leclerc complained of understeer through the tight 90 degrees corners. Ferrari's data showed them losing time in sectors 1 and 2, when McLaren, in particular, looked more comfortable. By the time the red flag came out to fix a loose curb, Ferrari were staring at another weekend of damage limitation with only minor tweaks being made and no real signs of progress. And then FP2 changed everything. With the sun dipping lower, the track rubbering in, and the conditions mirroring those of qualifying and the race, Ferrari finally showed their hand. And it was devastating. Hamilton unleashed a lap of 1 minute 21, 293 seconds, faster than last year's pole position and good enough to top the timesheets. Right behind him came Leclerc with a 141. 367, only 0.074 seconds slower, dementing a Ferrari 12 that very few had seen coming. Wasn't just the times that stunned the paddock, but the way they were delivered. Hamilton running a higher downforce rear wing that sacrificed straight-line speed for braking stability, the Ferrari through the unforgiving middle sector like a man possessed. Every lap looked more confident, more natural, more in rhythm than anything he has shown since moving to Maranello. Leclerc with his lower drag setup, lightning fast on the straights, and still held his own in the corners. Combination of both approaches made Ferrari look like they had cracked the unique paradox of Baku's layout, a car that could fly down the straights but still stick to the walls in the twisty castle section. Behind them, the picture looked far less rosy. McLaren endured a nightmare session. Norris clipped the wall at turn 4, broke his suspension, and crabbled his car back to the pits before his mechanics shut it down for good scapeistry, also kissed the barriers, and ended up only 12th. His session ruined at the very moment when teams were switching to low fuel runs. Their misery highlighted Ferrari's strength. Mercedes with Russell and Agnelli were consistent, but nearly half a second adrift, their W16 looking stable but lacking outright pace. Dappin's Red Bull, usually untouchable in these scenarios, looked unsettled under braking and traction, leaving the Dutchman visibly frustrated over team radio. For the first time in months, Ferrari were not chasing the leaders. They were the benchmark. Psychological impact of Hamilton topping FP2 cannot be overstated. Ever since joining Ferrari, he has spoken about feeling alien in the SF25, about having to bend his natural style into shapes that didn't fit. In Monster, he sounded broken, defeated by a car that refused to respond. In Baku, for the first time, he looked like Hamilton again, attacking corners with confidence, carrying speed with fluidity, and putting together a lap that silenced every doubt. For a man who came to Ferrari to chase immortality with an 8th world championship, this session was not just a number on a timesheet. It was a glimpse of the driver and the machine finally beginning to connect. For Leclerc, the story is just as dramatic. Baku has been his kingdom in qualifying, for consecutive pole positions proving his mastery of these streets. Yet, he has never converted the dominance into a win. To now be beaten here, even by the smallest of margins, by his new teammate in the same machinery, will sting deeply. It could also light a fire. Leclerc has carried Ferrari on his shoulders for years, suffering heartbreak after heartbreak, but now he has Hamilton alongside him, pushing him harder than ever. That rivalry, respectful yet fierce, be the very thing that propels Ferrari out of mediocrity. The TOC love nothing more than seeing their two stars at the front. A genuine intra-team battle at the sharp end of the grid might be exactly what Ferrari needs to rediscover its edge. The technical details add even more intrigue. Ferrari split their program deliberately with Hamilton focused on stability and Leclerc on top-end speed. Both solutions worked, and both produced elite pace. Long-run simulations on mediums and hards looked competitive too, with less graining than McLaren and more consistency than Red Bull. The red cars looked planted where it mattered most. Even if the straights still showed a small deficit to the lower drag machines, the unpredictability of Baku's safety cars are almost guaranteed, and pit strategy becomes a lottery. Ferrari now have the flexibility to play both cards. One car set up to attack qualifying, another designed to thrive in the race. The foci still roar for Monza, suddenly have a reason to believe again. Friday results do not win races, but they shape confidence. They change narratives, and they ignite hope. Hamilton topping FP2 in Ferrari red with breathing down his neck is exactly the kind of image they have been desperate to see. It tells them that their heroes are still fighting, that the dream of victory is still alive, and that maybe, just maybe, this season can deliver redemption. Heading into Saturday, the stakes could not be higher. Leclerc wants to keep his crown as the king of Baku qualifying. Hamilton wants to prove that FP2 was no fluke. And Ferrari want to seize a front-row lockout that would put them in control of Sunday's chaos. Behind them, McLaren will be scrambling to repair Norris's car and recalibrate their setups. Mercedes will be searching for that last half a second, and Red Bull will be desperately trying to unlock speed from a package that looks uncomfortable. The stage is set for a showdown, and Ferrari are no longer the underdogs. Hamilton's insane result has done far more than just light up the timing screens. It has unsettled rivals, stunned his teammate, restored faith in Ferrari's project, and reminded the world that he is still capable of brilliance. Streets of Baku are unpredictable, but if FP2 was a sign of what is to come, then Ferrari are not here to survive. They are here to win. For Hamilton, this could be the weekend that finally makes his move to Maranello make sense. For Leclerc, is the ultimate test of whether he can defend his territory.